Hey, what is up? Welcome to this episode of the Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Lofrumento, and I want to tell you, before I introduce you to today's guest, I actually want to tell you two things that really stand out that I've seen that she's written, and I said, we need to have her on the show. So the first thing that really stands out is she has a newsletter. We're going to talk about that in today's episode, but I love about her newsletter is it's called the AI First CEO, and the subheadline is a newsletter for CEOs who think in workflows and not tasks. And then when we combine that with this other thing that I've seen today's guest, right, which is I love to work with people who are lazy and they value their time more than their money. I think that all of this is a great teaser about the way that today's guest and fellow entrepreneur thinks. Let me introduce you to Aarti Anand. Aarti is a product leader turned into an entrepreneur. According to her, and of course we all experience this, we live in an age where of technology where anyone with a certain skill set and an internet connection can make money. So that's why her vision is to create a life for her family, her husband, her 3 kids, her 2 dogs that includes freedom of time, money, and location. They all love sports, reading, and running, and that's why with her business, she wants to build a beautiful life that involves learning new technologies, building kick-ass products to help businesses become a V10 and not waiting to retire. And I love the fact that she rolls all of this up and makes so much sense into a really practical use case of AI where she helps B2B founders and CEOs automate the parts of their business that waste the most time and lose the most leads, like follow-ups, lead capture, client onboarding, and internal workflow. So if any of that sounds like you and you think to yourself, I'd like to be more lazy, I'd like to have more things work for me in my business, well, you're in for a treat today. I'm not going to say anything else. Let's dive straight into my interview with Aarti Anand. All right, Aarti, I am so very excited that you're here with us today. First things first, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian. I'm excited to be here, so thanks for having me.
Heck yes, obviously you heard it in the teaser to today's episode. I love the language, the verbiage, the perspective and the attitude that you have towards work and building great businesses in a way that leverages AI and technology to help us. So before we start talking about all that stuff, take us beyond the bio. Who's Aarti? How'd you start doing all these cool things?
Yeah. So as you know, I'm a mama of 3 kids and 2 dogs. And as you know, I've been a product leader for almost 15 years. So after building software products for so long, what I realized was that I wanted to do cool things, but then I always wondered what life would be like if I could just have 100% control over my time, how I want to spend it, where I want to spend it, and where I am physically when I'm spending that time. So as I started to build my business with AI and helping businesses incorporate AI into their workflows, it was just so evident to me that anybody who has a skill set and a Wi-Fi connection, they could be sitting in any part of the world and just fulfilling their work from there. And as an entrepreneur, it gives me that lifestyle that I want because my kids are growing, my parents are getting older, my dogs are getting older. And given the value that I have for everybody in my life, I don't want to just spend time building my business, but I also want to be present for them when they need me the most. So that's where I am today, and that's why I do what I do. And the cool part of the business that I'm building is that it also helps other business owners and CEOs and founders to sort of live the life that they once dreamt of, which is if they automate their workflows, then they don't have to be in the business while the business is running without them. And similarly, they could be anywhere in the world. And since the workflows are automated, either they've delegated to someone else, or there are tools available that are doing and running the show while they are spending the time doing the things that make them human and how they want to spend their time. So that's the motivation for building the business and why I'm doing it this way. And in the meantime, it also helps me spend the time the way I want to, and it's also helping me scale effortlessly.
Yeah, Aarti, I love how lifestyle driven that you are, because it's now more possible than ever before. I see too many entrepreneurs who, when they build their business, all they end up doing is giving themselves yet another job. And actually, this job of entrepreneurship probably involves more hours, less stable income for a certain amount of time, and a heck of a lot more responsibility. So I love the fact that you flipped that on its head and you said, no, we're at a point in time, thanks to technology, thanks to our understanding of business and operations and follow-ups and leads and sales and all of these things, that you can build a business that way. We're going to talk about all of those things and the actual workflows. But before we get there, Aarti, I want to confess to you that what your work and your attitude really reveals for me is one of my favorite quotes ever, that says, efficiency is just intelligent laziness. And it's so clear to me that you don't prioritize the number of hours that you work. You don't prioritize being busy with your business. You prioritize those results. Talk to me about that attitude and that mindset.
Yeah, I think what you said, Brian, basically comes from how, as human beings, we have been socially conditioned to be born and then follow steps A, B, C. So you go to school, you get a job, and then you get busy, and then you have kids. And then that all part of social conditioning, it takes very long to break that stigma that has been built around how a career should be built, and how busy we all get while we're building the career. But the beauty of life is you also have, humans living around you who are living with you. And then I don't want to wake up 70 years old and having missed all my kids' childhood and having missed all the years that my parents could have spent with me. And that's so, given that, and I think I want to pair that up with the beautiful age of technology that we all live in. We have the resources to create the life that we want. We also have all the, all the abundance around me. But then you still think most people are not happy as you think they would be in this age of resources that we live in. So why is that? It's because of the way they have been raised. We think life is supposed to be school, job, and then get a retirement. But when you retire, unfortunately, you don't have the body, you don't have the energy to live the life you want. At that time, you're too tired to do these things. So I think the way solopreneurs and entrepreneurs in this age of technology, they are sort of flipping the script, and they're building a life where they are building the businesses around the life they want to live. So they never actually have to think about retirement, because they're now waiting to go surfing or do all the other cool things that they would do when they have the time. They're creating the time because of the lifestyle and the businesses they're building around the life that they want. And I think that's a mindset first, before anything. Unless you start to challenge the way we can, you won't be able to. So that's why when I started the newsletter too, the first edition that went out, it was all on mindset, because unless you have the mindset, you'll always break when that breaking point comes. But if you have the right mindset, you'll just see that as an obstacle, and then you use it as the way, and it becomes the way.
Yes, so well said. I love that strong emphasis on mindset, because ultimately I always argue with people that business itself is very simple. It's the human mind. It's the powers. Our mind is so powerful that we can use it for better, or for sure we can use it for worse. And I think it's so important that we have that conversation. And I appreciate you putting all that into perspective for us. What really stands out to me is where inside of a business that you've chosen to apply AI and chosen to apply automation, because huge kudos to you. I would argue that it's the most important lifeblood of any of our businesses, and that is our leads, our sales process. How do we actually drive revenue in our business? So, Aarti, I want to put you on the spot now to introduce listeners to your business and what it does, because I think it's so powerful that you've identified, hey, everybody, if you're wasting time and energy and therefore money when it comes to leads and follow-ups and closing, then that's costing you your ability to grow and to start experiencing these beautiful things of life that you've already talked about here in today's conversation. So walk us into the type of work that you do and how your business operates.
Yeah. So when I sit down with someone and have a discovery call, I always bring up this drip matrix, which was in a book called Buy Back Your Time, which was written by Dan Martell. And that drip matrix has 4 quadrants, and you go from left to right. And these are the things that you do that light you up. And if you go from bottom to top, these are the tasks you do in your business that print you money. So when I sit down with my prospects, I always have them look at that, and I tell them, you never want to automate the tasks that light you up, and the tasks that light you up and also print you money. These are the tasks as the CEO of the business you are destined to do. You're also happy to do because it gives you more energy. And the tasks that light you up, but they don't print you money, they actually make you a better human being. For example, going for a workout because it's going to re-energize you. And you come back to your desk, you're going to be a better person. You're going to be a healthier person. You want to go play with your kids. That's the fulfillment that you get from life. You can't automate that. AI can't replace you there. You want to go run a half marathon. That's the task for you because it's going to increase your VO2 max, right? So then it leaves you with the left 2 quadrants where the tasks that don't light you up, but they print you money. These are the tasks that you either find a replacement for yourself or you delegate. So these are the tasks that are the prime candidate for you to automate. So once you have identified what tasks you want to delegate or automate with AI, then you sit down, and I always tell them, find the top 3 bottlenecks that you have in your business, because I could give you a solution, an AI agent, which would bring you more leads. But is lead flow the real problem you have? Is that the actual bottleneck? Maybe someone I'm talking to, their bottleneck is they're not nurturing the leads. They're not educating them on pilot. Because think about it, these are the statistical numbers that are out there. At any given point in time, only 3% of your market is ready to buy. So what happens to the rest of the 97%? You have to give them something that they over time get educated on, nurtured on. So when the time is right and they are out in the market shopping for a solution for their problem, you're the right person to buy from. So that's where we come in. We have them identify the top 3 bottlenecks and what's stopping them from scaling from there. And then we figure out, would it be a lead flow problem? Do they need more leads, or would it be a lead capture problem? So most of the business owners I talk to, they already have enough leads. They're just not capturing it. If they're not capturing it, how do they know they have lead problem or not? So second is we put an AI agent which would be there and capture the leads when they come to their website. But from there, we still have to solve the third piece of the puzzle, which is the lead nurturing problem. Now you captured it, but if you don't talk to them multiple times a week, you're not top of their mind. So we put email marketing in place, and it's all automations in the background, which again is a sales team, a marketing team that's working for you 24/7 without getting tired, without any mood swings. They don't have bad days. And they also work while you sleep. So if you're targeting international markets, someone could come to your website, they could talk to your bot, they could check their order status, they could also talk to your AI voice agent. And they could also receive emails at different time zones if you configure it that way. And so they are nurtured and educated on autopilot unless you expose bottom of the funnel content to them in your email with the right type of CTA, where they are the hot lead now. And as soon as they book a call with you, your job is to be the awesome salesperson that you are, and you close them on the only call that you took with them. And that's why the systems work for you, and you save your time because you're not qualifying the leads. You're not educating them. You're not nurturing them yourself. You have put all those things on autopilot. So you only are responsible for the one task that prints you money, which is when you close the deal.
Yeah, hearing you talk about these things, Aarti, I'm excited for this next question because it's almost part mindset, but also part strategy, because we've all heard of AI agents before, and you're introducing us to some tangible AI agents that your business helps other businesses implement in their own businesses. But with that in mind, I guess the mindset and strategy question is, a lot of entrepreneurs will err on the side of, well, nobody can do as good of a job at this as I am. You talk about having a lead nurturing agent. Nobody can nurture leads as well as I can. Talk to us about this state of where AI is, where AI agents are, and how we can get it performing as good, if not better, than we can do it ourselves.
Absolutely. So I think the first question I ask them is, if nobody can do a job as good as you, how are you ever gonna get out of the business? And it's not about the exit strategy. Like, how are you actually ever gonna scale if you're the person sitting, taking the phone calls and qualifying the leads? So that's one. That immediately sort of brings them back to the mindset that they need to start with. Second is, as a business owner, my job should be to think about 10 years from now. And when I think about 10 years from now, of course, I'm going to think about scaling. I can't scale without a team, right? So that's second. And third, if I were to have a team, where are the SOPs and the internal trainings that I would give to my team to help them train, do the things that they would do and be the world class at? So that's third. Fourth is, if you have the SOP and the training, and if you can train a human being to follow the footsteps and replace you in a certain task, I can also create an AI agent out of that SOP and training, to basically create an AI agent for you, which would do the task when there's no human being around, meaning after office hours. So that's number 4. And you said it right, because that's the number one concern I hear. Well, isn't AI gonna sound like AI? And it's basically, the backbone is the prompt engineering. How good of a prompt do you write when you assign a task to an AI agent? So I'll give you an example. Any AI agent that you create out of an LLM, so it could be Claude, it could be ChatGPT, it could be Gemini. If you just use that, then it's like a university graduate, a class of 2016 that got out. Everybody was exposed to the same set of professors, to the same set of curriculum. They're all the same. But it depends how they all trained when they were not in the classroom. And that's where, in addition to the brain, you give them memory and the knowledge base, which is the PDFs and the marketing material and the SOPs and the internal trainings. That's what makes one AI agent not sound like AI compared to anybody else, because they have been trained in a very specific way, and the prompt engineering has been done in a very specific way to assign the role and to make sure the agent performs in a certain way, how it queries, how it asks the questions to qualify the prospects. So that's why in our business, we spend probably, if not more, at least 75% of our time is spent in prompt engineering, because that's what makes us different than anybody else out there.
Yeah, I love hearing that, especially because I think about that tagline you have for your newsletter of thinking in workflows rather than tasks. And I think about that workflow where we do things in our businesses. Every single entrepreneur has already done things manually, sent emails, developed those. I record SOPs in Loom, and Loom these days is really cool because it gives us the transcript. So now I can feed that transcript into AI and it knows, maybe it can't see the video that I recorded, but it knows every single thing that I'm doing and saying and showing inside of that SOP. And with all of those things in mind, Aarti, I want to ask you about that workflow, because a lot of people, when they hear prompt engineering, they just think, oh, let me just type in a better query for this large language model. You already kind of alluded to the fact that you're uploading PDFs, you're giving it marketing materials, you are inputting it with so many powerful things to be different from anything that I can just type in and get in as an output. Talk to us about the workflow of training that AI and having it perform to this level.
Right. So it all starts with, again, what is the role for the AI? What do you want it to do? What are all the ifs and the buts and the questions it could get from the customer or the client or the prospect? How would a human qualify it? What are the things a human would be considerate of? For example, when we develop AI voice agents for a fundraising or a nonprofit, when those AI agents call, they also look for the age group that they are talking to. So they are more empathetic in one way or the other. If we are talking about if we're creating, say, an AI voice agent for a real estate qualifier, so their tone will be different. Their how they respond will be different. Their qualifying questions would be different. They would be talking about what type of house you're looking for, what are the things that are important to you. So you can already see, depending on the use case, the conversation is completely different. The role for the AI agent is completely different. And that's why it has to act in a certain way, where it has a qualifier, or it's asking for a donation, or it's asking for someone woke up with a pain and in the middle of the night and they just want to book an appointment. So the clearer you are in assigning the role and how an agent should perform in certain situations versus the other, and what would naturally make sense when the AI agent knows nothing to do, then we always have a parachute there where it can transfer the call live to a human if the prospect wants to just talk to a human. Because to be honest with you, 9 out of 10 times, no prospect would care if they are talking to AI or not. And we have proof for this because we ask them when we do these AI voice agent calls. The only thing that a prospect cares about is, do you have a solution to their problem or why they are calling you? If you do, they do not care if they're talking to an AI or a human, because at the end of the day, we're all looking to achieve an outcome through an action. And as long as your AI agent helps them get that outcome, they don't care if they're talking to a human or not.
Yeah, Aarti, I want to put you on the spot here because this is something that I always hear this objection from listeners, from entrepreneurs that I talk to. Obviously, I talk to entrepreneurs for a living, and this one objection really drives me crazy, Aarti. So I'm excited for you to address it. And that is, a lot of times when people hear about solutions for their business, for their life, for their operations, for anything, they convince themselves that their business or life or circumstances are so different from everybody else that they say, well, yeah, sure, that could work in real estate, but it's not going to work in my industry. My industry is more high touch, or my industry requires all of these decades of experience and intuition that I have. And they convince themselves that their business or thought process or experiences or intuition is so complex, Aarti, that there's no way it could work for them. How do you navigate people through that? Because I've seen the powers across all different industries of AI to make sense of things. And I'm a big fan. A lot of times I'll talk into a microphone, I'll record it, and then upload that transcript to AI, and it will get inside of my head because I'm sharing my thoughts. So I know that there are ways around this, but I'd love to hear how you help businesses navigate that.
Yeah, that's a great question, Brian. I'm so glad you asked. Again, anything in life, professional or personal, I always attack mindset first. And I always tell people, if you look for red, you'll find red. If you're looking for blue, you'll find blue, right? You've heard that many times. And it's, again, the same mindset. You're looking for problems, you'll always find problems. If you're looking for solutions, you'll find a way or a resource that will help you to get to the solution. So, and I'll give you a tangible example on how I'm building my business. When I set a goal, I find a person who's there where I want to be. Then I pay them, and I get a blueprint from them on what to do if I want to go from A to B, because you've done that already. And I'm paying you, you give me the blueprint, and I'll just follow the trace and I'll get to point B, right? That's logical. So anybody who's basically taking a step back from not adopting AI today, the only piece of suggestion I have for them is, remember when Facebook came along, remember when internet came along, all the other trends. You can see AI as a trend, but you also have to remember, people are not just sharing their pretty life on social media. There are people who are very meticulous and very mindful about how they're spending time on social media. They're actually building multi-million dollar businesses because they are leveraging social media in the right way, and they are not shying away from it. So that's the same mindset I talk about in my newsletter. And I also, whenever I do the discovery calls and I run AI workshops in businesses, that's the first thing I want to tell them is, it's all about the mindset. Are you there looking for problems or solutions? Because if you're looking for problems in 100 ways AI cannot work in your business, I can come in and I can beat the drum, but I unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to make any difference. But if you're coming from a mindset of, I have a problem, I want to find a solution, AI or not, I know the solution exists. Other people have done it. Do I use AI or not? That's a secondary conversation. But if you're out there looking for solution, we could either figure out how to put the SOP together so you can train another human being, or if it makes sense and AI can do it, then we put the tools in place and do the integrations, and AI can also be the hero that you want. But in the end, as a business owner, you're out there looking for solutions, then yes, one of those solutions could be AI. I don't like to plug in AI wherever I can. I look for the bottleneck first and actually start to peel the onion, see what the real problem is, and then we sit down and figure out if AI is the right way to solve that problem. Because in the end, AI, just like any other tool, it is just a tool. And in 15 years from now, something else would be cooler. But as long as you have the problem solving attitude, whether it's AI or not, you'll be able to find the problems that you're looking for.
Oh, I absolutely love the way that you answered that question, Aarti. When you talk about, if you look for red, you'll find red. And it really makes me think about one of my favorite quotes ever, which is, we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. And I think that so much of the way that you view this stuff, Aarti, I would argue it's very different from what we hear in the AI world, because a lot of it is that mindset. And you have a mindset of, I'm going to make this work for me. There's no question of, it's not binary of, does this work, yes or no? It's, I'm going to find a way to make it work. So it's no surprise to me that you find so many solutions, not only for your own business, but also for others. And that's why I'm excited to ask you this final question, because it's super broad. I ask it at the end of every episode, and that is, what's your one best piece of advice? Knowing that we're being listened to by both entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs at all different levels of their own business growth journeys, and also knowing that you're not just a subject matter expert, you're one of us, you are a fellow entrepreneur. What's that one piece of advice that you want to leave our listeners with today?
That's a great question and a great way to end the episode. I think where I am in my journey is I know my why. Why did I leave a 9 to 5 and start my own business? That why is so important because in the journey of entrepreneurship, as you would attest to this, Brian, is there are days when things get hard and they get really, really hard. If you don't have a clear why, that's the day most entrepreneurs give up. And I think Alex Hermosi calls it the dip or something. It's the valley of despair, I think, if I'm recalling it correctly. So that's when most of the entrepreneurs give up. And I think those are the ones who don't have a strong why. So that's why my why is very clear. I'm trying to build a life for my family, my kids, my parents. My husband and I have this idea of a lifestyle that we want to have in 5 years from now. And it'll take time to build. I understand that. But as long as the why is clear, the days that are hard or seem hard, that's why I don't give up. And he supports me is because he knows why we're doing this. And if I have to leave anybody with one piece of advice is you have your why so clear that even on the days when you're so ready to give up, you still hang on to a thread and you wake up the next day and you start fresh and you have a clear mind. And in those moments when you're so confused that you don't know what to do next, all I encourage you to do is to take one step, take one action in the right direction, and everything will fall back in place.
Yes, holy cow. I love that advice, Aarti, especially because you pulled some of the wisdom from one of my favorite books of all time. It's actually Seth Godin, his book, The Dip. You absolutely nailed on something that these are the realities. And I love the fact that you're bringing this to our audience here today in this conversation because everybody talks about all the great aspects of entrepreneurship and all the freedom that we get lifestyle-wise, time-wise, location-wise. And you and I certainly preach and enjoy a lot of those components of entrepreneurship. But it's those realities of how do you get through when those times are hard, which inevitably it's happened for both you and I, Aarti, and it'll happen for every single listener. And it's not going to happen once, it's going to happen 1,000 times over. And I love the fact that that's the advice that you've given to our listeners today. I also love and admire the fact that you are putting so much good into the world, not just in our conversation here today, but through your newsletter. Your website honestly inspires me. Scrolling through your website, it makes me think, holy cow, our whole team needs to sit down and really look at the way that we're leveraging AI. What are those bottlenecks? What are those tasks that we don't quite enjoy? And how can we start automating that? So with all of those good things in mind that you're putting into the world, drop those links on us. Where should listeners go from here?
Yeah. So for my website, it's www.kodenyxai.com. And that's where you'll find all the good, good stuff, all the AI agents we're building and helping other businesses. You'll also see lots of good testimonials from my wonderful previous and current clients. And then if you are interested in the newsletter, I would really encourage and would love the support. So it's on the website. You'll see the newsletter link and you just go there and subscribe to it.
Yes, and listeners, you already know the drill. We're dropping those links down below in the show notes, no matter where it is that you're tuning into today's episode. We're also linking to Aarti's personal LinkedIn, so you can also find her newsletter there. She is always pumping amazing content and good thoughts. You've seen not only strategic thoughts, but mindset thoughts that we all need into the world. So definitely check out the links down below in the show notes. We're linking directly to her business website where you can read through about all those agents. She's absolutely spot on. It's so clear how much her clients love working with her and her company. You'll also find her newsletter there and her LinkedIn where you can also find all that goodness that she's putting into the world. So Aarti, on behalf of myself and all the listeners worldwide, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. It was an absolute blast.